Every morning, you wake up and make a choice that determines whether you'll spend the day moving toward your dreams or away from them. Most people choose to move away from their dreams without even realizing it. They choose the comfortable commute over the challenging opportunity. They choose the familiar routine over the uncertain adventure. They choose the guaranteed paycheck over the potential fortune. And they tell themselves they're being smart, responsible, and practical. But here's what they don't understand. In a world that's changing faster than ever before, the only real security comes from your ability to adapt, grow, and take intelligent risks. The job you think is secure will be automated. The industry you think is stable will be disrupted. The safe path you think will protect you will leave you unprepared for the future that's coming, whether you're ready or not. There comes a moment in every person's life when they stand at a crossroads. On one side lies the familiar path, comfortable, predictable, and safe. On the other side lies the unknown, uncertain, challenging, and full of possibility. The choice you make in that moment determines whether you become someone who simply exists or someone who truly lives. The difference between these two paths is risk, and without risk, there is no story worth telling right now, somewhere in the world. A young woman named Maria is sitting in a cubicle, staring at her computer screen. She has been working the same job for 7 years, earning the same paycheck, following the same routine. Every morning, she drives the same route to work. Every evening, she returns home to the same apartment. Her life is predictable, secure, and slowly killing her dreams. Maria represents millions of people who have chosen safety over significance, comfort over growth, and certainty over possibility. But here's what Maria doesn't understand yet, and what you must understand right now. Every single person you admire, respect, or wish you could be like has one thing in common. They all took risks that others were too afraid to take. They all chose the uncertain path when the safe path was available. They all decided that the potential for extraordinary was worth more than the guarantee of ordinary. Think about the people who have shaped our world. Steve Jobs didn't stay at Atari when he had the chance to start Apple in a garage. Walt Disney didn't keep his safe job at a newspaper when he wanted to create animated films. Colonel Sanders didn't accept retirement when he was 65 years old and broke. Instead, he took his chicken recipe and his last Social Security check and built Kentucky Fried Chicken into a global empire. These weren't reckless gamblers. They were intelligent risk takers who understood a fundamental truth about life. The truth is this: playing it safe is the most dangerous thing you can do. While you're sitting in your comfortable zone waiting for the perfect moment, the world is changing around you. Technology is advancing. Opportunities are passing by. And younger, hungrier people are taking the risks you're too afraid to take. The job you think is secure today may not exist tomorrow. The industry you've built your career in may be obsolete in 5 years. The comfortable life you're protecting may crumble because you were too afraid to adapt and grow. I learned this lesson the hard way early in my career. I was working for a company that seemed stable and profitable. I had a decent salary, good benefits, and a clear path for advancement. Everyone told me I was smart to stay put. But something inside me was restless. I had ideas for improving our processes, suggestions for new products, and a vision for how we could serve our customers better. When I presented these ideas to management, they told me to stick to my job description and stop rocking the boat. That's when I realized I had two choices. I could continue doing what I was told, collecting my paycheck, and slowly watching my enthusiasm die, or I could take a risk, leave my secure position, and start my own consulting business. The safe choice was obvious. The right choice was terrifying. I chose to be terrified. The first year was brutal. I worked 16-hour days, lived on savings, and questioned my decision almost daily. But something magical happened. Every challenge I faced, every problem I solved, every client I helped made me stronger and more confident. I wasn't just earning money anymore. I was creating value, building something meaningful, and becoming the person I was meant to be. This is what risk does for you. It doesn't just give you the chance to win big, it forces you to grow into someone capable of handling bigger wins. When you take intelligent risks, you develop new skills, build new relationships, and create new opportunities. You become more valuable to yourself and others. You start living your life instead of just surviving it. But here's what's crucial to understand. The risks that create the best stories aren't random acts of courage. They're calculated decisions based on preparation, knowledge, and clear goals. The entrepreneurs who succeed don't just quit their jobs and hope for the best. They research their markets, develop their skills, build their networks, and create their plans. They minimize their downside while maximizing their upside. The same principle applies to every area of your life. If you want to find true love, you have to risk rejection and heartbreak. If you want to build wealth, you have to risk losing money on investments. If you want to create something meaningful, you have to risk failure and criticism. If you want to live a life that matters, you have to risk living a life that's different from everyone else's. Look at your life right now. What dreams have you postponed because they seem too risky? What goals have you abandoned because they weren't guaranteed? What opportunities have you missed because you were waiting for certainty? The cost of not taking risks isn't just missed opportunities, it's the slow death of your potential and the gradual erosion of your self-respect. Every day you choose safety over growth. You're choosing to remain exactly where you are. Every day you wait for the perfect moment. You're allowing imperfect moments to pass you by. Every day you avoid risk. You're guaranteeing that your story will be forgettable. The foundation of all great stories is the same. Someone decided that their vision of what could be was more important than their fear of what might go wrong. They chose possibility over predictability, growth over comfort, and significance over safety. They understood that the greatest risk isn't failing. It's never trying at all. Your story is waiting to be written. The question isn't whether you're capable of creating something extraordinary. You are. The question is whether you're willing to take the risks necessary to make it happen. Because without risk, there is no story worth telling. Now, before you start thinking I'm telling you to quit your job tomorrow and bet everything on a lottery ticket, let me be crystal clear about something important. There's a massive difference between intelligent risk-taking and reckless gambling. The difference lies in understanding how your mind works and why it fights against the very actions that could transform your life. Your brain is designed to keep you alive, not to make you successful. For thousands of years, our ancestors survived by avoiding danger, staying with the tribe, and following predictable patterns. The person who wandered off into unknown territory often became lunch for a saber-toothed tiger. So your brain developed powerful mechanisms to keep you safe. Mechanisms that are still running your life today. Every time you consider taking a risk, your brain floods your system with stress hormones, your heart rate increases, your palms get sweaty, and you start thinking of all the ways things could go wrong. This isn't weakness. This is biology. Your brain is literally trying to save your life by keeping you in your comfort zone. But here's the problem. What kept your ancestors alive is now keeping you from truly living in today's world. The biggest risks aren't physical. They're emotional and financial. You won't die from starting a business, asking for a promotion, or moving to a new city, but your brain reacts as if you will. This is why most people never take the risks that could change their lives. They're fighting against millions of years of evolutionary programming that tells them to stay safe. But successful people have learned to work with their biology instead of against it. They understand that fear is not a stop sign, it's a signal that you're about to do something important. They've trained themselves to feel the fear and take action anyway. They've developed what I call emotional intelligence about risk. Here's the key insight. Every successful person you know has learned to distinguish between two types of risk. There's reckless risk, putting everything on red at the casino, quitting your job without a plan, or investing your life savings in a company you know nothing about. And there's calculated risk. making informed decisions based on research, preparation, and clear objectives. Calculated risk follows a specific pattern that you can learn and apply. First, you identify an opportunity that aligns with your goals and values. Second, you gather information and develop your skills. Third, you create a plan with specific milestones and exit strategies. Fourth, you test your approach on a small scale before making major commitments. Finally, you take decisive action when the timing is right. This is exactly what Ray Kroc did when he discovered McDonald's. He didn't just randomly decide to get into the restaurant business. He spent years in food service, understood the industry, and recognized a revolutionary system when he saw it. He took a calculated risk based on knowledge and preparation, not blind faith. The same principle applies to every area of your life. When you understand how successful people think about risk, you start to see opportunities everywhere. You realize that the perfect moment never comes, but the right moment comes frequently if you're prepared to recognize it. But here's what most people don't understand about risk and reward. The relationship isn't linear. Taking small risks consistently creates exponential results over time. This is the compound effect in action. Each risk you take successfully makes you more confident and skilled at taking the next one. Each failure teaches you lessons that make future risks less risky. Think about learning to drive a car the first time you got behind the wheel. Everything felt dangerous and overwhelming. But with practice, actions that once seemed terrifying became automatic. The same thing happens with risk-taking. The more you do it intelligently, the better you become at it. This is why successful people seem to get lucky more often than everyone else. They're not actually luckier, they're just more prepared to recognize and act on opportunities. They've developed what I call risk intelligence, the ability to quickly assess situations, make decisions with incomplete information, and adjust their approach based on results. The most successful people I know have all learned to reframe risk entirely. Instead of asking, what if I fail, they ask, what if I succeed? Instead of focusing on what they might lose, they focus on what they might gain. Instead of waiting for certainty, they create certainty through action. This mental shift changes everything. When you stop seeing risk as something to avoid and start seeing it as something to manage, you begin to live differently. You start making decisions based on opportunity rather than fear. You start moving toward your goals instead of away from your problems. The psychology of risk and reward is really the psychology of growth versus comfort. And once you understand this, you can begin to build a systematic approach to creating the life you want. This brings us to the most practical part of our conversation, how to actually build a framework for intelligent risk-taking that serves your goals instead of sabotaging them. Because understanding the psychology is just the beginning. What you need now is a proven system that turns theory into results. Every successful risk-taker I've studied follows the same 4 fundamental pillars. Whether they realize it or not, these pillars form the foundation of what I call strategic risk management. And they're the difference between people who take risks and win versus people who take risks and lose everything. I personally can, often, the first pillar is education. You cannot take intelligent risks about things you don't understand. Before Warren Buffett invests in a company, he reads everything he can find about that industry, studies the financial statements, and understands exactly how the business makes money. Before Richard Branson launches a new venture, he immerses himself in that market until he knows it better than most people who work in it. This isn't luck, this is preparation. The second pillar is preparation. Education gives you knowledge, but preparation gives you capability. This means developing the skills, building the relationships, and creating the resources you'll need before you need them when opportunity knocks. You want to be ready to answer the door, not scrambling to get dressed. The third pillar is timing. Even the best opportunities can fail if the timing is wrong. This doesn't mean waiting for the perfect moment. It means understanding market conditions, personal readiness, and external factors that affect your chances of success. Sometimes the right risk at the wrong time becomes the wrong risk entirely. The fourth pillar is execution. All the education, preparation, and timing in the world mean nothing if you don't take decisive action. This is where most people fail. They get stuck in analysis paralysis, always gathering more information instead of moving forward with the information they have. Now, let me give you a practical framework for evaluating any risk you're considering. I call it the October 10th 10 rule, and it will save you from both reckless decisions and missed opportunities. Before you make any significant decision, ask yourself 3 questions. How will I feel about this decision in 10 minutes? How will I feel about it in 10 months? How will I feel about it in 10 years? This simple exercise forces you to consider both immediate consequences and long-term implications. Most bad decisions feel good in the moment, but terrible later. Most good decisions feel uncomfortable at first, but create lasting satisfaction. The October 10th 10 rule helps you see past the immediate emotional reaction to the real consequences of your choices. But here's something equally important. You cannot take intelligent risks in isolation. You need a support system of people who understand what you're trying to accomplish and believe in your ability to achieve it. This means surrounding yourself with other risk takers, mentors who have succeeded in areas you want to enter, and advisors who can give you objective feedback. Most people are surrounded by people who think small, dream small, and want them to stay small. If you're trying to build something significant, you need people in your life who think big, dream big, and expect you to become big. This isn't about finding cheerleaders. It's about finding people who will tell you the truth, challenge your assumptions, and hold you accountable for your goals. Finally, you must master the art of resource management. Smart risk takers never bet everything on one outcome. They diversify their efforts, maintain multiple options, and always have backup plans. This doesn't mean being timid, it means being strategic. You want to position yourself so that if one risk doesn't pay off, you have other opportunities waiting. When you combine these elements, education, preparation, timing, execution, the October 10th 10 rule, strong support systems, and smart resource management, you create a framework that allows you to take bigger risks with greater confidence. This is how you build a sustainable approach to creating extraordinary results. But let's be honest about something. Even with the best framework in the world, you're going to face obstacles that test your resolve and challenge your commitment. The difference between people who succeed and people who quit isn't that successful people don't encounter problems. It's that they handle problems differently. The biggest obstacle most people face is their relationship with failure. They've been taught that failure is something to avoid at all costs, when in reality, failure is simply feedback. When Thomas Edison's laboratory burned down, destroying years of work and millions of dollars of equipment, he called his son to come see the fire. He said, "All our mistakes are burning up. Thank God we can start fresh." That's the mindset of someone who understands what failure really is. Every failure teaches you something that success cannot. Success tells you what works, but failure tells you what doesn't work, which is often more valuable information. When you fail at something, you're not proving that you're incapable. You're gathering data about what needs to be adjusted, improved, or completely changed. This is why people who never fail never truly succeed. They're so busy avoiding mistakes that they never learn anything new. The second obstacle you'll face is criticism from people who don't understand what you're trying to accomplish. When you decide to take risks that others won't take, you automatically become a target for their fears and insecurities. They'll tell you that you're being unrealistic, that you should be more practical, that you're going to lose everything. What they're really saying is that your courage makes them uncomfortable with their own choices. Here's what you need to understand about critics. They're not qualified to judge your dreams. The person who has never started a business has no right to tell you that business ownership is too risky. The person who has never traveled has no authority to tell you that moving to a new city is foolish. The person who has never tried to create anything significant has no credibility when they tell you that your goals are impossible. Listen to advice from people who have achieved what you want to achieve. Ignore opinions from people who haven't. This simple rule will save you years of doubt and frustration. The third obstacle is perfectionism, the belief that you need to wait until everything is perfect before you can begin. Perfectionism isn't about high standards. It's about fear disguised as preparation. Perfect conditions never exist. Perfect timing never comes. Perfect plans never emerge. While you're waiting for perfection, opportunities are passing you by. The most successful people I know are not perfectionists. They're optimizers. They start with good enough and improve as they go. They understand that taking action with an imperfect plan is better than taking no action with a perfect plan. They launch before they're ready, adjust based on results, and improve continuously. Financial fear is another major obstacle. People convince themselves they can't afford to take risks when the truth is they can't afford not to. Yes, changing careers might mean a temporary reduction in income. Yes. Starting a business requires investment, but staying in a job that's going nowhere costs you far more in lost opportunities and unfulfilled potential. The key to overcoming financial fear is to make your risks as small as possible while still being meaningful. Start your business as a side project. Test your ideas before quitting your job. Build your skills gradually instead of trying to change everything at once. Smart risk-taking isn't about betting your entire future on one decision. It's about making strategic moves that position you for bigger opportunities. Finally, let's address the obstacle of age and circumstances. People tell themselves they're too old to start over or too young to be taken seriously. They believe their circumstances make risk-taking impossible. These are excuses, not reasons. Colonel Sanders was 65 when he started KFC. Laura Ingalls Wilder didn't publish her first Little House book until she was 64. Grandma Moses didn't start painting until she was 78. On the other side, Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook at 19. Bill Gates started Microsoft at 20. Malala Yousafzai won the Nobel Peace Prize at 17. Age is not a barrier to success. It's simply a different starting point. Your circumstances are not permanent limitations. They are temporary conditions that can be changed with the right decisions and consistent action. The question isn't whether you're in the perfect situation to take risks. The question is whether you're willing to make a decision that will change your situation. And that decision must be made now, not someday, not when conditions improve, not when you feel more confident, now. Here's what I want you to understand. The power to transform your life doesn't lie in some grand gesture or perfect moment. It lies in your ability to make one decision and then follow through with consistent action. Every extraordinary life started with an ordinary person making an extraordinary decision. Right now, as you're hearing these words, you have an opportunity that may never come again. You have a chance to stop being someone who talks about what they're going to do someday and start being someone who takes action today. You have the chance to stop being a spectator in your own life and start being the author of your own story. But this opportunity has an expiration date, not because of external circumstances, but because of internal momentum. Every day you delay taking meaningful action makes it easier to delay again tomorrow. Every day you choose comfort over growth strengthens the neural pathways that keep you stuck. Every day you wait for perfect conditions, the people who create extraordinary lives understand that momentum is everything. They know that taking one small risk makes the next risk easier. They know that building confidence requires doing confident things. They know that waiting for motivation is a waste of time, because motivation comes from action, not the other way around. So here's your 90-day action plan. This isn't theory. This is a practical system that you can implement immediately to start building the life you want. Number 3, I'm leaving you now. You're either going to do this or you aren't in the next 7 days. You're going to identify one area of your life where you've been playing it too safe. Maybe it's your career, your relationships, your health, or your finances. Choose the area that, if changed, would have the biggest positive impact on your life. Write down specifically what you want to achieve and why it matters to you in the next 30 days. You're going to educate yourself about this area, read books, take courses, talk to people who have succeeded in this area. But don't just consume information, apply it. Start making small changes immediately. If you want to start a business, begin researching your market. If you want to improve your health, start with one new habit. If you want to advance your career, start developing the skills you'll need in the next 60 days. You're going to take your first calculated risk. This doesn't mean quitting your job or betting your life savings. It means making a decision that moves you closer to your goal, even though the outcome isn't guaranteed. Apply for that position. Launch that side project. Have that difficult conversation. Take that class. Make that investment in the next 90 days. You're going to evaluate your progress and plan your next move. What worked? What didn't? What did you learn? What needs to be adjusted? This isn't about judging yourself. It's about gathering data and making informed decisions about your next steps. But here's the crucial part. You must measure your progress not just by external results, but by internal changes. Are you becoming more confident? Are you developing new skills? Are you building new relationships? Are you thinking differently about what's possible for your life? These changes are often more valuable than immediate financial or professional gains because they compound over time. Remember, every risk you take successfully increases your capacity for taking bigger risks. Every challenge you overcome builds your confidence for facing bigger challenges. Every goal you achieve expands your vision of what's possible. This is why successful people seem to accelerate their success over time. They're not just achieving goals. The momentum principle works in both directions. Just as positive momentum accelerates your progress, negative momentum accelerates your decline. Every day you choose safety over growth. You become more risk-averse. Every day you avoid challenges. You become less capable of handling challenges. Every day you postpone your dreams. You become more convinced that your dreams are impossible. This is why you must act now, not because the timing is perfect, but because waiting makes the timing worse. Not because you're completely ready, but because you'll never be completely ready. Not because success is guaranteed, but because regret is guaranteed if you don't try. Let me ask you a question that will determine the quality of your life. When you're 80 years old, looking back on your life, what story do you want to tell? Do you want to tell a story of someone who played it safe, followed the rules, and lived a predictable life? Or do you want to tell a story of someone who took chances, overcame obstacles, and created something meaningful? The choice is yours, but the window for making that choice is closing. Every day you delay is a day you can't get back. Every opportunity you miss is an opportunity that may not come again. Every risk you avoid is a story you'll never have to tell. Your life is not a dress rehearsal. This is not a practice run. This is your one chance to create something extraordinary, to become someone significant, to live a life that matters. The question isn't whether you're capable of greatness. You are. The question is whether you're willing to take the risks necessary to achieve it. So here's your challenge. Within the next 24 hours, Take one specific action that moves you toward the life you want. Send that email, make that phone call, sign up for that course, have that conversation, apply for that opportunity, start that project. The action doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be real at the end of your life. You won't be judged by the risks you avoided. You'll be judged by the risks you took. You won't be remembered for playing it safe. You'll be remembered for the chances you took and the impact you made. Your story is waiting to be written. The pen is in your hand. The page is blank. What happens next is entirely up to you. But remember this: without risk, there is no story worth telling. So, what story will you tell?